And now back to Labor Press's Blue Collar Buzz with your hosts, Bill Holfeld and Joe Maniscalco.
And we're back with more good talk right here on Labor Press's Blue Collar Buzz. Your host, Bill Holfeld, in the studio with me is my co-host and producer, Joe Maniscalco. Joe, I find it absolutely amazing. I think the physician made an incredible point. It was like 100 years ago we were fighting for the 8-hour day, and now we have to plead to get out of a 24-hour day? I'm not getting that.
I think you made a better point. Instead of just being frightened about how much it's going to cost, we can create a revenue stream to make sure that people get paid for the work that they do.
I have much to your disbelief, Joe, I have my progressive moments, but anyway. So
You're very progressive, man.
I don't know about that. Well, let's progress by all means. And as we progress, who's coming to join us next?
We have a great friend of Labor Press right now, John Merlino from the law offices of William Schwitzer and Associates. He's the guy to go to if you get hurt in construction accidents. They're one of the premier agents firms out there.
Okay, well, John, welcome to the program, buddy.
Welcome, thank you.
All right, so Joe said you're the guy to see, if you're in a construction accident, that's one of your specialties. So, tell us a little bit about your firm and how it operates and the type of full service that you give to people when they do get hurt on the job.
Well, at our office, William Schwitzer and Associates, we're a full-service law firm specializing in representing injured workers solely. We represent construction workers, anyone involved in an accident on the job. We handle all our workers' compensation claims in-house. It's not farmed out, as well as if they have a third-party personal injury action, we handle that as well. My partner, William Schwitzer, is one of the premier trial attorneys in New York State. He's been recognized for having top verdicts in the state of New York and also nationally. So we handle everything A to Z in the law firm to try to maximize and optimize all the legal benefits we can afford to an injured worker.
Okay, and how big a firm do you have, John?
Well, we have 2 floors on 2nd Avenue and 44th and 43rd Street. It's 820 2nd Ave. And we have approximately 20 to 25 attorneys working for us, and staff-wise, approximately 40 to 50 staff members.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like there's a long wait list if I need your services. I'm going to get to talk to somebody pretty quickly.
Very quickly, and also we, my partner and I, we do give out cell phone numbers. Very rare for an attorney to do that because we always want to be accessible to our clients. They always have questions, concerned about what to do if someone calls them up about the case. Is it okay they speak to them? And also if they have issues with the doctors, we always want to be accessible to help them out.
And Bill, I can tell you, I've been to John's office many times to interview him about different stories, and I've seen him in action. I've seen him on the phone talking very closely and personally with the people that he's hired to help. John, talk about people just say injured on a job, injured in construction accident. What kind of injuries are you actually seeing people having to deal with?
That's a good question, Joe. It could be as simple as an injury to the foot, a wrist, or it could be a back injury. A lot of people who get injured on a construction site, they're not going to know immediately what they did injure. They're going to focus on the obvious injury, if they tripped and fell, or if they fell from a scaffold or an object falling on top of them. It takes days to realize the full effect of their injury. And what's important that every member who gets injured on a job site, they need to know that workers' compensation's out there. It's their right to file for it. It provides wage replacement, and it also provides medical protection for the injured sites that occurred on this accident on the job site. So with regard to workers' comp, many members or injured workers need to know that they have to file a claim. It's called a C3. And they also need to notify their supervisor or their employer within 30 days. A lot of members are not aware of that. And a lot of claims can be disallowed because of the not providing the proper notice of the injury within those 30 days.
John, it's been my experience that far too often when somebody does make a claim that they've hurt their back or their leg or whatever, there's this automatic assumption by way too many people that this person is just a malingerer or he's looking for a free payday. And now, in your many years of experience, how many actual frauds have you run across?
I still have to come across one.
There you go. That's what I thought.
A lot of these construction workers, they want to get back to work. They're making good wages. They're providing for their families. So they really don't want to be out collecting workers' comp. They want to be back on the workforce. The issues that they come across is a double-edged sword where they have an injury and they need to get that medical treatment and they need that clearance from their doctor to go back to work because, they don't want to re-injure themselves and they want to be able to not be a safety issue at a construction site.
Yeah, and I wanted to make that point because it's as you just pointed out, these are people who can't wait to get back to work.
Correct.
Because nobody's getting rich collecting workers' compensation.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and so talk a little bit more about. Joe made the good point that he's heard you speaking on the phone with people, and talk about how important that is, the personal touch when somebody's going through an injury like that.
Well, you got to understand, as we indicated, these are high-wage earners, and their life did a 180 with this accident. So they have a lot of concerns, a lot of questions. So by us being available to answer these questions, not only we're answering them, but we're also educating them about the process. My partner and I really believe that it's important that members be educated during the process so they understand full effect of what's going to occur and what to expect. It's hard to look in that crystal ball and tell them exactly what's going to happen in the future, but we're able to give them generalities and educate them what to expect as we proceed with their third-party lawsuit and workers' compensation claim.
And just off the top of your head, John, do you see a specific problem with the compensation system the way we have it, something that you'd like to see changed or tweaked in some way, modified?
That's an excellent question, and yes, it has evolved for pro-carrier, pro-employer. Not that there's anything wrong with that. The whole system with regard to workers' comp is to get people back to work, but however, if they're medically able to. It's not a robotic system where, we have a system that says, okay, you got injured, now you're expected to go back to work within a certain amount of years. It doesn't always happen. It's the whole snowflake theory. Each snowflake is different. Each case is different. So workers' comp has to be more open-minded, and they have to evaluate each case for what they are, as opposed to making a blanket policy where they're trying to force injured people back to work.
Now, is that just a cultural change that needs to take place, or is there actual legislation, do you think, that needs to be enacted here?
It's a quasi-legislative issue, more policy within the administration, where they're pushing injured people to go back to work. And it doesn't make sense. If they're medically cleared to go back to work, it makes sense because these are people who want to earn a living. But if they're medically not able to, and you have an injured worker where the government says that they're disabled and they're collecting Social Security disability benefits, how can workers' comp turn around and say, okay, but according to our policy, you should be going back to work or looking for work? It's not consistent.
Yeah, and it would, Joe, I would also think, right? I mean, you could be penny wise and pound foolish. I mean, if you send somebody back 3 or 4 weeks or a month earlier, yeah, you saved a few dollars in payments, but that person goes back and re-injures themselves because they haven't completely healed, then as you say, they're going to wind up on some sort of Social Security disability for the rest of their lives, and we haven't saved a dime.
Correct. If anything, what they're trying to achieve indirectly is cost shifting.
Yeah.
How many cases do you have where the first inclination somebody has when they get hurt is to shrug it off and say, I'm okay?
I would say the majority of the construction workers, they tend to do that because, they're working, they're out there, they're in inclement weather, doing physical labor. They're resistant to pain. Okay, so where they get injured, they're really injured for them to stop working. They won't even realize how injured they are until they get back home. And a lot of the members will call me up and say, Mr. Merlino, it was like after the weekend, I realized I couldn't even get out of bed.
Right.
Yeah, no, I can attest. I remember one time in particular, I let the my fault, my being stupid, I let the gang box come down, hit me on the back of the head while I wasn't wearing a hat, while I was reaching in to get something out of the gang box. And I cut it, and I go into the Teamsters, Shanny, he takes a look at it, he goes, nah, you don't need stitches. I go home, so there's dried blood in the back of my head. My wife says to me, well, did you go to the doctor? I go, well, no. And she said, why not? I said, the Teamsters said I didn't need stitches. She goes, you're getting your medical advice from the Teamsters.
There you go, right?
And that's kind of part of the culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So John, before we run out of time, make sure you tell everybody where they can reach you. Do you have a phone number? You have a website? What's the best way to get a hold of you if they need you?
Best way, call the office at 212-683-3800. You can reach me on my cell, 718-781-8389. Again, our office is located by Grand Central Station at 822nd Ave by 43rd and 44th Street. And God forbid, if you're not able to come to the office, we'd be more than happy to come to you and advise you of your legal rights.
Well, John, thank you so much. Thanks for being a guest today. And thanks for all you do for all the people out there who need your services, because that's a time in your life where you need more than just medical help. You need somebody to listen to you who doesn't think you're a malingerer and understands what your rights are and are willing to explain them to you. So thank you for all of that.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay. And we will be back in just a minute with more good talk right here on Labor Press's Blue Collar Buzz at AM 970, The Answer.
You're listening to Labor Press on AM 970, The Answer.